Fast and Furious in under 10 minutes. Brian O'Connor, an undercover cop, is infiltrating a illegal street racing gang who's also known for stealing electronics off of semi-trucks. He ends up falling for the leader, Dom's sister, Mia, and goes to a restaurant where he meets the rest of the crew. Who doesn't like him the most is Vince, accusing him of being a cop and also fighting him in the middle of the street.
Try Fat Burger from now on. You get yourself a double cheese with fries for $2.95, faggot.
Over time, everyone ends up trusting Brian, and he gets joined to the crew where they bond over building a 10-second car together. Vince is still skeptical, calling him a cop. He was right the whole time. But in doing that, Brian goes to stop them from stealing more off a semi-truck and ends up having to save Vince's life. While saving Vince's life, he has to admit to everybody that he is indeed a cop. Everyone's pissed. The rival gang kills Jesse. Him and Dom go after the rival gang, end up getting revenge by killing them and then racing a quarter mile. At the end of that quarter mile, they smile at each other. Dom turns, smashes into a semi-truck. I know what you're thinking. That's the end of the road. He's gonna get arrested, but no. In a turn of events, Brian gives him his car and lets him get away, going rogue on the police force. Too Fast, Too Furious. After the occurrence at the end of the last movie, Brian had to flee to Florida after going rogue and letting Dom go. While he's there, he's street racing to get money and gets caught and arrested. Instead of getting jail time, they make a deal with him.
I said forget about it, cuz.
If he helps the LA Police Department the Florida Police Department take down a drug lord, he can get pardoned and move on with his life. Brian has one condition. He gets to choose his partner. He chooses his ex-best friend, Roman Pierce. Roman Pierce isn't happy to see him. He blames Brian for getting him locked up and stuck with an ankle monitor. They end up fighting, but then Brian tells him if he completes this mission with him, he will get pardoned and be able to return to his normal life of non-criminal activities. Rome agrees, but is not happy with it. They infiltrate by joining the drug lord's gang, helping him set up jobs, and creating a drug cartel like no other. They meet his undercover girlfriend, who's actually working for the cops, but she's a little fishy. But, Brian likes some toxic women, so he ends up falling in love with her, just like he did Mia. Where's Mia? Who knows? They end up stopping the huge drug lord, stealing a bunch of money for themselves, and going free. Tokyo Drift. None of the original cast members are in this movie, but you meet Sean, a high school kid who keeps getting in trouble, and so his mom sends him to Tokyo to live with his dad. Hello? Tokyo Drift.
None of the original cast members are in this movie. We meet Sean, a high school kid who keeps getting in trouble with street racing and fighting, so his mom sends him to live in Tokyo with his father.
While he's in Tokyo, he meets Lil Bow Wow. He also can't drift, and realizes everybody there drifts, so he can't win races unless he learns how to drift. So he meets Han. Han likes him and teaches him how to drift and also lets him work for him. He ends up having to race DK. Who's DK, you ask?
You know what DK stands for? Donkey Kong?
No, not him, but he is the best drifter and street racer in Tokyo. He ends up killing Han, who's also his brother. He ends up being the nephew to the biggest drug lord in all of Tokyo. They end up having one final race. If DK wins, he gets to go free. If Sean wins, he gets the girl, and the drug lord has to stop messing with him. Of course, Sean wins in typical Fast and Furious fashion. He becomes the best racer in all of Tokyo. In the end credit scenes, we see a muscle car pull up to race Sean. Who is it? None other than Dom Toretto. In Fast 4, Brian is now an LA detective. Dom and Letty are still doing jobs. In one of those jobs, Letty ends up passing away and dying in a fiery explosion. Dom must get revenge. He creates a plan to infiltrate the crew that killed her. Brian doesn't want him to do it this way, so he tries to stop him. But while doing that, he ends up working with Dom, like always, and they take down the crew together.
I said only pussies run Nitro Man.
Still no word on how Letty died or where, but at least they got some closure by killing her killers. Now we move to Fast 5, the best one. Now wanted by the police for causing all kinds of mayhem, they flee to Brazil. Brian and Mia find out that they are pregnant. Rome and Luda, aka Tej from Too Fast, Too Furious, join the crew. Also joining the crew, Wonder Woman, but she goes by the name Giselle. And who are they running from? A pack of cops led by Dwayne, The Rock, Roxon, and a Brazilian cop who, of course, wants Dom's goods, if you know what I'm saying. They steal a vault from the biggest cartel boss in Brazil and finesse him with a switcheroo of vaults so he gets the empty one. After the credits, The Rock finds out that Letty is alive. Furious 6, Dom has that new Brazilian boo that we've seen in Fast 5. Rocky Roxon tracks him down and tells him that Letty is alive. Dom is suspicious, but he must find out. Elena understands. It's time to come to find out that she was kidnapped and intentionally crashed and her memory was erased. She's working for Shaw with a rough tag of mercenaries who are trying to steal military weapons. Of course, Dom and The Rock Rockison now work together to try to take down Shaw and his gang. The Rock has a right-hand lady who is the MMA failure herself, Gina Carano, who turns out to be a slime just like she is in real life and betraying Dom and Hobbs and being with Shaw. They still, despite all the betrayal, take down Shaw of course, like they always do, and return back to the LA home after being pardoned.
Hey, Mia, you better hide your baby oil.
I'm just playing. You better hide that big-ass forehead.
I was just joking.
We see in the end credits a man walking from Han's fiery explosion car from Tokyo Drift. Who is it? Jason Statham. Oh my god. Fast 7. After taking down Owen Shaw, his brother, Deckard Shaw, played by Jason Statham, comes for revenge after first killing Han, then putting a stone-cold ass-whooping on that jabroni Hobbs. Then he goes after Dom and his whole family. We meet a guy named Mr. Nobody, who comes to recruit them to try to take down a hacker and steal a thing called God's Eye. The hacker ends up just joining them and helping them use with God's Eye, finding Shaw and taking him down. Not only that, but Hobbs returns from his hospital bed to become the Hulk and help them as well, destroying a whole helicopter by himself. And to see at the end of the movie, after taking down Shaw, they go to live happily ever after on a beach. Paul, aka Brian O'Connor, and Vin Diesel, aka Dom, have one last race because this is sadly the last movie that Paul Walker ever filmed. Fast 8, after Dom and Letty are married, Brian and Mia retire. The rest of the gang lives it up. This blonde chick named Cypher shows up. Who is she? Some crazy chick who has dirt on Dom. She ends up making him turn on his family. Of course, bad guy Dom is unstoppable. No one in the family can take him down, not even all together, not even with Hobbs. But then you find out he's not actually a bad guy. Cypher just has his old girlfriend Elena and his illegitimate child. She ends up killing Elena, threatens to kill the baby. Dom is too smart though, and finds a way to sneak out and get help from the Shaw family. That's right, Deckard and Owen and his mother. Deckard ends up getting on the plane, steals back the baby, destroys everybody up, but Cypher escapes. Now that Dom isn't under her control, he can go help his family, and they end up destroying a submarine bomb that was going to destroy the world.
Alright, I've had enough of this shit!
They go to New York City. Baby is named Brian. Hobbs becomes part of the family, but Cypher is still alive. Fast 9. The beginning shows the day Dom's dad died, and Dom almost killed the guy who killed his dad in a race. Then he goes to jail for it, but in jail he finds out his brother helped work on his dad's car that day, so he thinks he killed his own father. Dom comes back. He's gonna beat his ass, but then in typical Fast and Furious fashion, they settle it with a race. During the race, he tells him if he loses, he must be gone, banished forever. Of course, Dom wins. He's the best street racer ever. Jacob cries, leaves. We don't hear from him. Now back to today's time. Letty and Dom are living on a farm with their kid. They also all of a sudden get attacked by a gang of mercenaries. Who is it? We don't know. But then we find out that it was taken over and run by Dom's younger brother Jacob, aka the Invisible Man himself, John Cena. Mia, who's there, but not Brian, weirdly, even though he's always helping Dom, and Letty go back to Tokyo to find out about Project Ares, which find out Han is alive and is behind Project Ares himself with Mr. Nobody. Jacob has a right-hand man. His name is Otto. He ends up betraying him and working with Cypher. Yep, Cypher. She's back after she escaped Jacob's clutches. Of course, in typical fashion, Dom will do anything for his family, so he rescues Jacob, and they end up working together to take down Otto and Cypher. Rome and Tej have to successfully go into a DeLorean, into space, and stop the hack that's going to ruin the world, because they are better than the Avengers. They kill Otto and Cypher, only to be fooled again as she isn't in the drone that they blow up. Thinking that they have a full mission accomplished, they celebrate with a barbecue in their LA home. After the credits roll, Han confronts Shaw. Fast X. Rome gets a mission, but it ends up being a setup by a man named Dante. Who is Dante? Well, remember that safe from Fast 5? It belonged to Dante's father, and he's back for revenge. Dante's basically the Joker on roids. He blows up half of Rome. Dom warns Jacob, who takes Lil B, aka Lil Brian, aka Dom's son, to a safe place, but is ambushed. As he's ambushed, you find out Mr. Nobody has a daughter who's played by Captain Marvel. She's there to help Dom and free Letty, who is arrested with Cypher. The new leader, though, of the agency is a guy named Ames. He wants to arrest all of Dom and his family, but ends up working with them, or so you think. Bam. He's actually working with Dante, and they capture Lil B, or so they thought. Jacob sacrifices his life to save him and give him back to his father. Dom is running from Ames and Dante. They blow up the plane, and it looks like they are all dead. Dom drives off of a dam with his son and blow up into a fire. We don't know their fates yet. We go back to see Letty and Cypher escape the prison in Antarctica, and the submarine blasts out of the ocean. Who's there? Oh my god, it's Wonder Woman, aka Giselle, is alive. End credits.